Although they try to hide it, everybody secretly has their favorite communist dictator. Some people love the silly little goober, Joseph Stalin, or perhaps the devious Fidel Castro. But for me, that special someone is a man named Josip Broz Tito, the former leader of Yugoslavia. Tito was born in a small Croatian town called Kumarovic as a peasant and managed to become the most powerful man in his country. But how did that come to be? And what is Yugoslavia? And do we have to take notes? To answer all of these questions, we first got to take a look at the beginning. The Big Bang is a physical theory that describes how the universe... Okay, maybe we can actually start here. Do you like this map? Well, too bad! Because World War I just ended, and Austria-Hungary just blew up. Now, there are a bunch of different countries that came from it, one being Yugoslavia. There's a lot of ethnic divide in this nation, but before anyone is really able to do anything about it, in 1941, Hitler politely asks, "Can you please be my friend?" And Yugoslavia is like, "Okay, I guess." Everybody in Yugoslavia hates that, so some Serbian generals start a coup and put the hip Prince Peter II in charge, but then Hitler gets jealous of his jawline and invades Yugoslavia, which is sort of just a speed bump on the Axis' way to invade Greece. They last 11 days before surrendering. Yugoslavia ceased to exist as a nation. For the average Yugoslavian, this is really bad, but for Josip Broz Tito, this is an opportunity. Tito managed to lead a successful resistance movement inside German-occupied Serbia. Although many close calls happened within this war, Tito almost even being captured himself on one occasion, Tito prevailed and kicked the Germans out of Serbia and eventually Yugoslavia as a whole, around 1945. He did this using the help of our second silly mustache man, Joseph Stalin. Although both Tito and Stalin were communist dictators, they didn't get along very well, likely due to Tito's lack of facial hair. In fact, around 1948, Tito said to Stalin, quote, "If you don't stop sending killers, I'll send one to Moscow and I won't have to send a second," unquote. After just one too many assassination attempts. The actual reason why Tito and Stalin didn't like each other is because Tito would manage to break free from Stalin's influence and establish Yugoslavia as a neutral nation in the Cold War. Tito was able to do this as he had a strong military presence and could contest the Soviet Union's attempted purges. But Yugoslavia was not neutral in the traditional sense. Rather, Tito started a separate bloc of countries called the Non-Aligned Movement. Tito invited nations such as Egypt and India, and the Pact persists today, encompassing nearly the entirety of Africa and the Middle East, and the entirety of the Indian subcontinent. Tito also strengthened ties to the West. But to talk about how Tito did as a leader economically, I'd like to illustrate my point using this clip.
Now today, you might hear the word communism and think of this.
Generally, communism has a bad connotation, and that's for good reason. Living under totalitarianism isn't that great. However, although Tito was a communist dictator, the Yugoslavian economy improved greatly under his rule, using economic methods I'm too lazy to explain. Additionally, although the Yugoslav government was initially highly centralized and dictatorial, through a series of reforms, the Yugoslavian political system became more relaxed, allowing local governments to do their own thing. So Yugoslavia seems like it's going perfectly. The economy is steady, everybody loves Tito, and everything is going to be fine. And then Tito has a severe case of dying. After Tito's death in 1980, there is conflict between two sides in the country. The largely conservative Serbian centralists and the liberal federalists, which basically consisted of everyone else. Tito kept these two parties under control by purging both of them, never fully committing to either side, but once Tito was gone, this unresolved political divide would become a big problem. From the 80s to the 90s, a bunch of Serbian centralists got put into power and they began stripping autonomy away from local governments. This only angered everybody else, especially the Slovenians and Croatians. Additionally, the economy was kind of in the gutter, with stagnation, unemployment, and inflation caused by the economic system, as well as excessive foreign debt not being resolved effectively, all creating more resentment. With the collapse of the Soviet Union and their Eastern Bloc, the idea of splitting up Yugoslavia under democracy became more popular. So they did. First, in 1991, it was Slovenia, North Macedonia, and Croatia who got it relatively easily. Then it was Kosovo and Bosnia and Herzegovina, which were both devastated by their civil war with Serbia. Finally, Montenegro was peacefully let go and Yugoslavia no longer existed. The Yugoslav Wars became the most devastating conflict in Europe since World War II. Economically speaking, the severity of the fighting left deep scars on these nations, which persist to this very day. The horrific fighting caused widespread human suffering, leaving hundreds of thousands dead and millions displaced. To end on a brighter note, look at this funny cat video.